Donnell got a call today, so we're just going to jump into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
We were kind of going over what we were going to discuss tonight, and then he was like, he sat down and he was like, "Man, if you're 15, go back to being 15,
Right.
would you have called some guy online and started asking him questions? Would you have had that level of confidence to do that?
And
Anybody?
you
Raise a hand."
have to realize I didn't know he was 15 at the time, right? All I saw was, he reached out and said, "Hey, he's seen a few TikToks, watched a few of my YouTube videos." So it wasn't really clear. And so as I started peeling these layers back, come to find out, this young man's 15 years old.
Let's peel these layers back
Let's
though,
do it.
because
Let's do it.
why would he not go to his parents? Why isn't this a conversation? You would think that if you have a 15-year-old, raise a hand if you've had or have a 15-year-old or someone around that age in your home, and you would imagine that if they had questions about this kind of stuff, that they would have come to you, right?
Right.
As a
Well,
parent.
before I even learned that he was 15, I continued like I always do. I want to understand where you are and what it is I'm sharing so that I can understand how to get you properly educated. Because here's what I don't want. I don't want to jump on a Zoom and our conversations be, I'll call it basic. Our conversation is more about definition and how and what is this. I want you to have all of those answers before we even meet because I want our conversations to focus on your goals. So I'm hitting him as though, again, he called me looking for something specific. So I'm throwing things back at him, trying to see if he can catch them. And he did
Right.
a pretty decent job. The question around why wouldn't he go to his parents, like that oozed out as well. And again, I think in error because I left him with, I sent him a link. I said, "Hey, here's a link. Do me a favor, watch these 4 videos. This will answer a lot of your questions already. And if you have any questions about, the videos that you watch, don't wait till we get together to ask me any questions. Just text me right here. Just text me right here at this number. Ask me any questions you got. If I'm not with the client, I will gladly answer." And that's kind of how I left it. And that was at the end of the evening yesterday. I wake up this morning and the text that I received was, "I don't know if my parents will allow me to get on board with something like this." And I went, "Your parents?" And he goes, "I'm a freshman in high school. I'm only 15. And I don't know that I can articulate." He didn't use the word articulate. "I don't know that I can articulate this to my parents," is basically what he was saying. "I don't know that I could get my parents on board." And I lit up like, this is a new one for me. So that's kind of how it started. So to your point, why didn't he? We ended up getting as to why he didn't talk to his parents. But his immediate concern was, you know what? I think I get it. How do I get this information now to my parents?
When he was asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" The
Right.
answer was financially free. That is what he wants, and he does not want to have to go through these hoops and climb ladders to be able to try to get it.
Again, he's a freshman in high school, and he doesn't think college is for him. He understands that his path, his whole purpose for heading into high school and through high school is so that he can end up in college. And what he would like to do is he would like to show his parents that, you know what, I am already focused on my future and I'm putting enough money away over time that's going to put me in this place. And when it comes, 4 years later, when it's time for me to go to college, I want to be able to take a year off, and if I'm accomplishing goals and hitting milestones during that year, then I'm not going to college. But if I take that year off and I'm not achieving these things, then okay, that's the path that I'm going down." So he's really having a dilemma internally as to one, um, you know, what are those paths he should take, and how do I have this conversation with my parents, which I really really appreciated.
As a parent, right? Hearing this is a little bit heartbreaking, honestly, because part of you, there's a realization here that his parents have not been able to accomplish. Now, why? That's kind of beside the point at this for this conversation. The point is that he recognizes that what they're trying to achieve now at their age probably is something that might be difficult for them. And if he's going, "Well, if this is the goal, then why don't I just make that the goal coming out the gate," right?
Right.
If financial freedom, if retirement, there's going to become a point where someday I can't continue working, or I'm going to need to have funds to retire, then let me make that the goal. Like, I'm totally fine with that. For him to do this and for him to come up with this plan that he's giving himself 3 years, right? 3.5 ish or
Right.
whatever it is, because we're
Right.
at the end of his freshman year,
Right.
obviously
Right.
now. He's got 3 years, maybe four if he takes that what he called a
That's
gap year,
sabbatical.
right? Yeah, the sabbatical. If he takes a year off, that gives 4 years for him to come up with a plan that he will not have to go to college, and he will have the same, he will have achieved the same goal in record time, right? Or at least know that he has the plan, he's going to get there. Okay, so to his credit, the average student loan debt is between in 2021 was between 20 and $25,000. I don't even know if that's accurate. That's Google
That
saying
sounds
that.
super low.
Yeah, sounds really, really low.
Super, super
So it
low.
must be that this is also, and these must not be medical students, right?
Right.
Okay, so if the average student loan debt is $20,000 to $25,000, he's saying, well, that's an investment I would be making because you have to pay it back. So what else could I do with that? And so some of the math that he's wanting to do is like, look, if I were to take the same amount of resources essentially, and I were to put this somewhere else, what could this do? And he's so right. So I looked up the average time that it takes to pay off debt, 21 years.
21 years. I'm just writing these down because I think these are great numbers to be able to use later when we go to the calculator too.
This is sounding really low to me, 21.
Super low, super low.
Yeah. I don't know. What
But
do
I
you
mean,
guys think?
let's give him the benefit of the doubt. And but here's the other thing though. It has taken 10, 12 years of personal development for me to have a different perspective of what college is and what it isn't. So I can only imagine the place that his parents are currently in if they're already focused on what this 15-year-old is going to do with the rest of his life.
Because they want the best for him and they
Right,
you
right.
know it's sincere.
It is nothing wrong, but it's just understand like when I think about it, what did I use college for? College was a tool for me. I know for some, college is a career. College is the springboard that you jump off to be able to do your career forever, right? But for me, I saw college as a tool because coming from where I came from, I needed income. But if I would have seen it differently as a career, I would still be an engineer today, be somebody's director or executive director or whatever the case may be, making a decent income.
But you had to have the degree to get that.
Right. And so the point and the purpose of the degree is perfect, but still, it's about leverage.
You were leveraging the degree.
You're leveraging the degree to not have to deal with what people below you have to deal with who don't have a degree. So it's really
Right.
about leverage. And so what I heard him say was, can I gain some leverage now so that I don't have to go to college to establish this leverage to be able to use later? And
Right.
man, that is powerful. Whether he goes to college or not is not the point. It's the
Man.
leverage point for me.
Yeah, and just the fact that like this generation is different. They have access to information we never did. And watching what they do with it is something that is incredible.
His thought process was he could comfortably put away $200 a month.
You want to show him
Comfortably.
what you want to show him what you showed him?
Let's do it. 15 years old, putting away $200 a month, again, about 20% of his income, would allow him to have about 182,000 in tax-free income by age 65, tax-free for the rest of his life. And again, I find it disrespectful to talk to someone 15 about waiting 65 before they can touch the money. But the truth is, if he did what we've all been conditioned to believe, you have to wait until someone tells you when you can retire to be able to do so. If he were to wait till that point, this is what he would have. And again, we're talking about $200 a month. And this job that he has is a job that he, from his perspective, he will always have because he works with his dad during the summers. So it's a job that's not going anywhere. So it's not I'm at Taco Bell today, but when I learn how to drive, I will no longer be at Taco Bell. This is something that he's been doing since he was like 10. And so it's consistent income. He has a solid savings. He has a lump sum that he could put down, but we didn't even touch, we didn't even scratch that surface.
His
It
savings.
right. It really just started with, hey, I've got $200 a month that I could comfortably put away. What does that look like? And so and remember, his concern was, what does this look like after 4 years? So let's just look at 4 years. So he would
Okay.
be, what is that, 19 years old?
Yep. Wow. This is just
Now, $200 a month over that 4 year period isn't a lot of money, right? $200 a month, 1,200, $2,400 a year. He would have in liquid cash available to him about 10 grand at age 19. Now, there's not a whole lot he can do with $10,000 cash value at 19 years old. There's not.
I promise you it is more than most 19-year-olds
And
have.
that's what I was getting at. I'm pretty confident there's not one person who graduated high school who can say something similar, unless they've got some type of trust fund or they have a rich parent. But as far
Right.
as his hard-earned money working for him, building an asset that has about $10,000 in it in 4 years, that's not happening. And so and just allowing this to compound over time. So what does it look like at some of those key ages, right? So what does it look like at 25? When he would have finished college.
Okay. Oh,
So when
that's
he
good.
would have finished college, he's walking out of college theoretically with a $35,000 asset. Now, again, I'm not saying do or don't go to college. What I'm saying is at age 25, he's walking out of college with a $35,000 asset. Who walks out of college with a $35,000 asset? And I think the number that you had mentioned was 25,000 in student loan debt is what most people walk out of college
Right.
with.
Right.
So what he and I are discussing is it's about leverage. What he has doing something like this is he's creating a vehicle that he could be able to leverage for the rest of his life.
Right.
And this job that he has during the summer is also leverage. Instead of us thinking of it as I'm punching a clock, I'm a robot, because I think that's how a lot of us view these jobs that we have. Why
Right.
am I doing this? Why is this necessary? If we just, from a perspective, from a different perspective, just view this job as a tool. This tool is what I'm going to use to feed my machine. I've got
Right.
this machine sitting in my garage. And as long as I feed this machine $200 a month, at some point this machine starts to run and it starts to compound, and the results coming out of that machine at age 25, okay, it's about $3,600 a year. Again, can't do a whole lot with that.
If he were to start taking it from that point, it would be for the rest of his life tax free.
But here's the piece. At age 25, couldn't we comfortably say he could do better than $200 a month? So this is assuming
Right.
he never does.
Yeah. Right.
Who can't, again, at this point, if he's been he's conditioned himself to live off less than or $2,400 less than his traditional income. So whether he went to college and got a good job, because again, in college in the summers he's still working for his dad, so this income
Right.
is still there.
Right.
So he went to college, got a decent paying job, and now he's making even more money coming out of college.
Yep.
He could pay off all of his student debt now if he wanted to.
Right. If he had student debt.
Right. If he had student debt, if he had the $25,000 you're saying, he could take this 35,000 right now, borrow against it, borrow $35,000 or 25,000 against his own cash value, because this is liquid cash. This is a savings account. He can access this money at any time, pay off all his debt. Now, I would not suggest that. I'm just saying the possibility, the capability is there.
What happens if he keeps the same amount? Let's just say
Yep.
same amount, and he does this for another 5 years. What it look like in another 5 years?
Yep.
So
Five
he's
more years.
graduated college, and now it's been 5 years, and he's been just been putting the $200 in.
Yep. He's now 30 years old. He now has a $72,000 asset. And I want to make sure people understand what I mean by a $72,000 asset and how it can be used. Let's say at this point, at age 30, he needs to buy a vehicle,
Yeah.
right? How do people traditionally buy vehicles? They go to the dealership, they
They
find
get
the
it,
car that they want,
and then they
then
get
they
a
end up
loan.
getting financed through that dealership, or they go to their neighborhood bank or their favorite credit union to get finance for the next 6 months.
Right.
And let's say it's a $30,000 vehicle. And they're charged whatever that interest rate is that they would be charged at from that bank. Well,
Right.
this is a bank. You've heard of infinite banking. You've heard of bank on yourself. You've heard of Nelson Nash. This is his bank. So if he needed $30,000 to go buy that vehicle, he can borrow that $30,000 from himself. And the interest rate would be right around 4%. It's 4% today. It's been 4% for the last 10 years. So I would say it'd be right around 4% when it's time for him to be able to access this money as well. So if
Okay.
he was to borrow $30,000 from himself at 4% over a 5-year period, a 60-month loan, 4 times 30 is, what is that, 12 grand? No, that's 1200, right? 4 times 30 is 1200 bucks. So in essence, every year he would hold $1,200 in interest. So
I hate
1200,
math.
I know you do, but that's why I'm walking you through it. $1,200 in interest times 5 years. 5
Okay.
times 12 is $6,000. So he started with a $30,000 loan. In 5 years, he would owe 36,000. Make sense? He's got the car though. No terms, conditions that he's liable to some bank or some credit union. There's no concern there because he paid for it by himself. And the interest that he's paying back to the life insurance company, but he's not paying back into the bank, back to the bank. So
Right. Powerful.
what most people who do infinite banking say is they say this: if you're going to leverage money from your bank, you should treat your bank the same way you would be treated if you borrowed it from Bank of America, meaning
Right.
pay that interest back to yourself.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about that, though. A lot of the people who say that are saying that because the product that you are borrowing from is not a well designed product. Meaning, if you don't pay the interest back, what ends up happening is the interest starts to compound, and that compounding interest starts to eat into your cash value, which means now you have less money available to you to compound, which means your account starts to lose value, the asset starts to get smaller, things can get out of hand pretty quick. But if you have a properly structured, properly designed product, you have a choice. You can choose to pay that interest back, or you cannot. And I think in this example, what I'd like to show you is what would happen if he never paid this loan back.
Okay.
All right.
What would happen?
So again, just to reset the stage, he borrowed
Okay.
$30,000 from this number. He borrowed it at 4%. He borrows the $30,000, goes and buys the vehicle. He has the vehicle, is using the vehicle. Over that 5-year period, 5-year loan, he would owe 6,000. So at the end of the 5-year period, he would owe 36,000. And if he wanted to, he could pay 8,000 of that off annually, which means the number that he would owe would be smaller. But let me show you what it looks like 5 years later. Okay, 5 years later, he's still contributing as normal. 5 years later, he would be 35 years old. Again, he owes 36,000 at this point. Well, if he wanted to, he could pay off half of that 36,000 right now. He's got enough liquid cash available to him that he could pay off half that 36,000, or approximately half right now. But in addition, his asset has grown from 75,000 to 134. Notice he's using a dollar multiple times. He borrowed 30,000 from this total, but the total didn't change. He didn't lose money in his cash value. So
Oh,
he
right.
used the dollar to go borrow the vehicle, and his account is still growing. So he's now has an asset worth 134,000. He owes 36,000. My argument is don't worry about it. Let it ride another 5 years. Okay. 6,000 more on top of the 36 that he already owes, that becomes now 42, right? So, okay, watch this number 5 years later, though. 5 years later, he now owes 42,000. So 5 years later, he would be 40 years old.
Yep.
So 15 to 40 years old, again, he could pay off a large amount of it right now. He owes $42,000. He could pay off roughly half of it right now. But look at his asset. His asset has grown to 233,000. My argument is still, I personally wouldn't worry about it.
And
Now,
and this is still only $200 a
this is,
month.
oh my gosh. This is, again, he is however old he was, 40 years old, putting away $200 a month, and he's got a bill that has been building over the years that has gone from 30,000 to now 42. And in 5 years later, he'd be 40. It would be 6,000 more, which would be 48 grand, and he'd be 45 years old. So what happens 5 years later, even?
Well, wait. Hold
Yes,
on.
yes. Go ahead.
Because I want to say he's 40 years old. If he chose to get married, have kids, whatever lifestyle he wanted to live, right? Let's say that's what that was. Shout out to anybody with the freedom to do what you want. But let's just say this is what he wanted to do. And so now he's got some additional costs. Let's say he wanted to buy a house in this time period
Right.
too. So let's say at 30, he wanted to buy a house. He's out of college now, or maybe he wanted to jump in. He's 15 now. And around that college age, he saw an opportunity to have a roommate. He's because this kid is bright. And I'm sure these types of ideas are all going to be flying at him. So let's
And
say
it
he
goes
wants to
back to
become a homeowner
he's
and
got an
start.
asset.
Yep.
He's got an asset worth $233,000 that he can be able to use to do any of that. Whatever that 5%, 3%, 10%, 20% down payment might be, he has an asset available to him to be able to do so. But in addition, he has income available to him that he's able to take as well.
So there's a question. Would you be willing to offer a family course?
It's interesting you say that. There has probably been over since January, there's probably been 6 different families who I've done group Zooms. There was one family, and we'll probably get into this example in later conversations as well. It was a life insurance catastrophe where it was a couple who had bought life insurance policies for their daughters and was paying this stupid amount just to learn that they really didn't have any value. But I met, that was like the first family that I met. They were all in different parts of the country, met with them over Zoom and just educated them around money. I'm working with a family right now in Texas doing the same thing. So absolutely, I will absolutely, you put me in front of any group. I did a self-storage group yesterday of about 40 people. Just kind of walking them through the power of self-directed retirement plans. So the short answer to that question is absolutely.
And that was supposed to be what we were going to be finishing tonight. But I
Right.
think this part is important because there are so many people who, like you and like me, the goal out of college was, or goal out of high school was to go to college. You have to have this as the platform for your future. You've
Right.
got to have a plan, and this plan has to be taking you to a path of where you can take care of yourself and you can do all the things you need to do. Doesn't matter that it wasn't taught in school, doesn't matter. It's just somehow you're supposed to go there. Now, most of the time, your gen ed courses don't even include how to become financially free, doesn't even mention the concept of financial freedom or that it's possible. And all of the information that you absorb for a career, I don't even think the concept of retirement is even on the table. It is just very focused on this is your career, this is going to be your new life. And so when people go into this, they're not some are going, how can I make the most money even if I won't enjoy it? But the majority of people are thinking, if I'm going to be spending a lot of my time here and this is the rest of my life, what industry am I going to enjoy?
Right.
And he's like, nothing, none of them. Get somebody else to do it. I want to skip the line. I got a plan. I'm going to get a plan together. This is going to be it. And I will call strangers off the internet and pick up my own mentors if I have to. That's really what he did. He picked his own mentor,
And a lot of us
and
won't
kudos
admit
to
it,
him.
but a lot of this is emotional because I think you said it very well. I hate this job. I want to do something that I love. It's all emotion based. Whereas
Right,
if we just looked at our careers and our jobs a little bit differently as a tool, how can I leverage this tool to get me where I want to go? Because I think we've all been put here for a purpose. But how many of us are actually working in that purpose right now? How many of us are actually receiving income based off that purpose? So
right,
what if you use that job that you hate as leverage to fill your machine so they can print income for you, so you don't have to worry about income. So that way you
right.
can go live and do and be in your purpose. And that's kind of what I received from this young man. This young man does not know what his purpose is, but he wants to put himself in a position to where he has a choice.
Man, it's so powerful. And the fact that part of who even knew to go after financial freedom at 15 years old. But here's the thing. We see now how hard it is for people, even first-time home buyers, to get into the market. The amount of down payment that you need, the amount of credit that you need, the amount of resources required for you to even play in the game at all
Right.
is insane, especially because we were when we were the age of just coming out of college and starting a family versus people today, and what that, even the price of homes and how different that is. This is a totally different ballpark. The art board for the American dream was established in the 50s, and
Right.
we've been going based off of that. We had pensions, right? And that was all part of it. That you just, all you got to do is, you didn't even have to go to college necessarily. You could be working in a warehouse, you could be working for a lot of different places, and even at trades, right? Pretty strong industry back then, too. And you had a pension. You were
But even,
promised, guaranteed that you were going to be taken care of for life. And then when they slowly started to realize, like, oh, this sucks for us, companies, right? This sucks for us. We don't want to do this anymore. We don't want to provide for people anymore because it's really like, it's really killing our vibe. So how can we like put this monkey on their backs and just say, like, you're responsible for it now? And oh, we came up with an idea. It's called,
the 401k.
and then it, as this kind of industry has grown, what we are seeing is that it, their vision for what this was supposed to be was never designed for the user to win. Never.
The piece that, because you said it and you said it very very quickly, but it is so important, and that is companies leverage us, right? And the incentive for you, if when the company is leveraging us, was that pension. Now that incentive is supposed to be that match or whatever your 401k, 403b, or
Oh,
TSP is supposed to be doing for you.
is is that free money?
Right, right. But it's leverage. The company is leveraging your time and your effort and your sweat to achieve a goal.
Right.
All I'm saying is we should be looking at them the same way. We should be using those companies as leverage. So now when I walk into this job and I punch this clock, it is less about, I hate being here and woe is me, more about how can I get what I need to done as quickly as I can get it done so that I can use this leverage that they've provided to go feed my machine, pay myself first, starting today, somewhere secure, compound my money, and then use leverage to grow it exponentially so that I can wave bye to this job that I hate so that I could go do things that I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, because what I think the flip side of that is what the majority of people do, and they say, I enjoy what it is that I do. But if what you do is not getting you closer to financial security and financial freedom, meaning you have more passive income than the bills and what it costs, including healthcare, by the way, your life
Whole nother
expenses,
subject.
you have more passive income, meaning you are not at all trading your time for money.
Yeah,
That
cash flow.
means no fixing a toilet, no collecting money. That's still active income, really, when you think about it.
Talking about all
True
my
pass
all my rental
mailbox.
income people.
Yeah, mailbox money. It is
Right.
just coming and you are only having to look at your account. That's it.
Yep.
So if you have, that's financial freedom. If what you're doing is what you enjoy doing, but it's not leading you there, and this is why I stopped working with people and helping them build their business, because I was helping them make more money. I used to help people make more money, and then Donnell would help them keep more of it and have that and teach them how that money can make its own money. So it used to be kind of a poetic, right? I was out here building businesses and changing lives, and it felt so good. And then I started to realize that the piece that they were missing was they were never getting closer to financial freedom. They're making more money. They started spending more money. Their lifestyle expenses went up. They had no idea of what was at, like. There's no exit plan. So the second that they stopped making money, their income stopped as well. And I started going, well, hey, wait a second, maybe we should add this component in there. But hey, that's not my business, right? So eventually, what I realized was I was actually crippling people by helping them start a business or helping them increase the income from their side hustle if they did not see it in the way that you were just describing
Yeah,
as
I
a
mean
tool.
it's that difference between it's the difference between the business owner and the person who's self-employed.
Right.
And I think entrepreneurs kind of get confused because that area is kind of gray. You know, do I own a job or do I own a system that's producing income passively? Like which one is it? And a lot of times it's I own a job.
Yeah.
Because you're right, you remove me from that process, the job fails.
Right. But the trade off is that they will love what they're doing. And that sometimes seems to be more beneficial. But here's what you don't love: you don't love being broke. That sucks. You don't love not being able to take care of medical expenses. That's horrible. You don't love when you see an opportunity like to buy a house that you have no leverage, not something that you can just go grab leverage from. That's terrible. If something significant happens in your life and you can no longer trade your time for money, right? Then that sucks. If you don't have that kind of leverage, what are the options at that point?
Right.
And we've
Right.
talked about all of those numbers and figures, especially on the games that we've played, just talking through what is actual income for people when this time period comes, whether you've aged out, whether it's a health related issue, what that is. But what this young man is saying is, I don't want none of it. Nope,
Right.
I'm not going to subscribe. I'm going to come up with a new plan. This is my plan. And kudos to him. Like, can we start the slow clap for this young man? Because what, like, this is the beginning of a pretty epic story, I feel like.
And I'm pretty excited about being able to have the conversation with his parents. Regardless of how this go, I am not in their household, and you know he will follow whatever path they set for him. But the fact that he wants me to sit down with his parents and have this discussion, I think is powerful as well. And just to button up that example real quick, because I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure this point isn't missed as it relates to this vehicle that was purchased. So let
Okay.
me just button this up real quick. Again, the place that we're at right now is he's 40 years old. He owes about $42,000 on this vehicle and hasn't paid a dime. So, and the interest just keeps continuing to grow as the years progress. What does this look like if he doesn't pay this back? Is the piece that I want to make sure is clear, because it's a piece that I'm confident we've all forgotten based off this product, and it's this.
Okay.
So by age 50, let's just kind of cut to the chase. By age 50, he would owe an additional $12,000. So 42 plus 12 is 54 grand. So by age 50, he would owe an additional $12,000. And if that was the case, at age 50, he could easily pay off that vehicle with no problem. He could pay it off in his sleep. He never paid a dime, but he could easily pay off this vehicle with just the annual income that he's receiving at age 50. He's not, and again, I'm not suggesting he's retired at age 50. What I'm saying is he has access to $59,000 in tax-free income by age 50. He could pay this car off in his sleep. But let me make a different turn here real quick. Let's say
Okay.
God forbid something happened to him. God forbid something happened to him and he's never paid this vehicle off. He owes 52, or I think it was 52, 50, oh, $54,000 is what's owed back to the life insurance company. And God forbid he passes at this point, like 50 years old, very young, passed away. This is a life insurance product. This is a product that also offers a death benefit. So even though he never paid a dime, there's still a death benefit that's going to be paid off to his beneficiaries. And if he were to pass at age 50 owing $54,000 back to the life insurance company for a loan that he never paid back, well, before his beneficiaries receive $1 million, how about $1,998,000? Before his beneficiaries receive that 1,098,000, life insurance company is going to say, "Hey, but he purchased this vehicle or he borrowed this money for this vehicle and he owes us 54 grand." So they're going to remove the 54 grand from this death benefit before that money is then transferred to his beneficiaries. I don't think his beneficiaries would be too upset with him because they're receiving 1.5 or a million 50,000 compared to a million 90,000. I really don't think they'd be too upset. And what I kept telling him is he didn't have to worry about it because he's structured properly in a vehicle that will take care of him if something were to happen like that.
You know, what's interesting because if you were to go and get $1 million policy today, he didn't start with $1 million
Right.
policy.
And specifically, it's sitting right here. He started with a $122,000 policy. That $200 a month gave him about $122,000 life insurance product, life insurance policy. And so, if something were to happen to him on day one, his beneficiaries would receive $122,000 based off the first $200. And then over time, that death benefit increases because it's two numbers. The death benefit is the life insurance that you originally purchased, plus the cash value that's growing over time as you put more money into this product. And again, I go back to it has to be properly designed. Because if it's not properly designed, right, he could have purchased a $500,000 in life insurance, but have no cash value to access to be able to leverage, right? So that is
Right.
absolutely important there.
Hey, Anthony, thanks for joining. Ken, see a lot of faces tonight. I only see who's tuning in if you comment. So I think most people are probably jaws on the floor that this we're given this example of a 15-year-old. But the other question that I have is if one of our when they were 15, obviously everyone's older than 15 now, but if when they were 15, if they would have come to us and said, "Hey, look, if they would have
Oh
said,
my
"Hey,
God.
listen, I have this idea. Could you please? I need your help to even be able to get this established because I'm too young to even do this on my own and I don't want to have to wait because I'm leveraging time as part of the equation, right?"
Right.
And so if our 15-year-olds at that time when they were 15, like let's just take the oldest, they're 22 now. 7 years ago, would we have listened to them? Would we have been like, "That's cute, but this this we've not heard of this, so therefore it's probably not something we're interested in." If it were something that was beneficial, how why hadn't we heard about it, right? Would you even be willing to have sat down and watched something that they would have
You know,
shared?
this I'm gonna attempt to not get emotional because I think this is the part that I'm disappointed in myself in because I think there were opportunities at that age to have a lot of these discussions, but I don't think I was in a place developmentally to be able to have a discussion like that with them at age 15. Meaning, I've been doing this for 12 years. So I've always known that this is how money is supposed to be accumulated and made and established. But I don't think I was in a place to be able to say, this is what it would look like for a 15-year-old if you adjust things a little bit differently. It's taken a lot of work to be able to get over some of the paradigms that I think I've had. So I think the short answer to your question is I'd have lost my right? And you
Right.
probably have evidence of me doing so, right? But but
Well,
but I think the truth is though, being able to have a discussion like this with my 15-year-old, imagine where they would be today had we done that. Imagine if I would have taken a small percentage of these tools and ingrained it into them at that point. Now, I think we did a much better job when they started to graduate high school, but using the part-time jobs and the things that they were doing while in high school to be able to build a foundation for them to springboard off of, it's powerful because that 4 years of compounding makes a difference.
yeah. Here's I think it's the putting them in an adult place, right? Like these are grown man tools,
Right,
right?
right,
These are big boy tools. These are tools for adults. Like these are not conversations that you're really going to be thinking to have with kids. But even in our personal development journey, we've gone, "Hey, hold on a second. If we just pick this tool up, we don't even have to necessarily know how to use it fully before we hand this to them and say, "Here, install this new software update at your
right,
age," right? And
right.
that's essentially what he's doing is he's saying like, "Look, there are updates to the software and we have not been doing that. And so I'm just going to ask you, would you update with me?" And I can't necessarily update until my parent host updates as well. So now, can we just get into it? I love this, but I think that their concept of constantly evolving is different because they're programmed to look for the next update, right?
Chat GPT.
Yeah, we didn't have any of this stuff to even the closest thing to an update was like Monopoly came up with a limited edition, right? Like those were the updates that we could see coming and that we were look for excited about, but updates on like how to life hacks, those weren't even part of our natural vernacular. We weren't even saying things like that. We weren't looking for things like that. You had to be looking in a magazine for some
Right.
tips and tricks on things. So there, the access to information was just completely different. But now, look at these kids. Look what they're doing. And by the time they are our age, they will never have to work again in their whole life. Everything will be set as long as they're plugging in and they're leveraging the time that they have now. It's
Right.
breezy. $200 a month for security for the rest of your life is
You know,
insane.
and to button this up, the piece that I just want to make sure is clear is this is really just about leverage. It's really not about a dollar amount. If you have a newborn and you're thinking about should I do a 529 plan or some type of other plan to be able to set my child up for college, 529 plans are okay, maybe even good. But the problem with 529 plans is you can't leverage them beyond college.
They
So if you
die.
run into a 15, if you started this plan when they were newborn, you run into this 15-year-old who maybe doesn't plan on going down the path that you had set for him. What happens with that 529 plan if it's not used, right?
What
Or
happens? No, tell us what
you lose it.
happens.
You lose it. If it's not used for what it's designed for, you lose it. It's the dumbest thing ever.
Wait. What?
So 529 plans have to be used for college, and there's like
Right.
three different categories that they have to be used for. And if not, it will be because again, it becomes taxable income at that point.
Wow.
But if you were to do something like a properly structured cash value life insurance product, putting that same money that you were putting in at 529, not only can you use it for college, but if there's, for whatever reason, the person that it's structured for doesn't go to college, you can use that money for whatever you want,
And
whenever
man,
you want,
and if
however
you
you want. And it continues to compound, which means it becomes an asset for them to be able to use for income for life.
wow. And some of these, yeah, wow. I'm a bit floored by that because I did not know that you just completely lose it. I'm sure
Use it or
there's,
lose it.
yeah, I'm sure there's people who have come up against this and they've had to find out what that reality looks like. But the other part is that money doesn't make anything else past that point. So you take it out and now it can't make money. Whereas this, you can still take the money out and the same amount of money is still working for you. So that's totally different than,
Yeah, 529s are designed to provide taxable relief, but it has to be used for this list of things in order to achieve, that shelter, that tax shelter. If you don't use it for these things, you lose that tax shelter.
hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea, it's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things, a ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait.
Invest in what you want, when you want.
But first, let us help you
Get self-directed.